Okay, so this part of sensation and perception deals with attention. Whenever you're anywhere, you're getting all kinds of sights and sounds, and you're getting feelings of temperature and touch, and so you're getting bombarded with different kinds of stimulus. Right now, I'm having so much going on. I'm holding my daughter, and it's diverting my attention away from this. And so the way attention works is that we have so many things that we're bombarded with that we want to focus in on something because it's hard for us to process everything at once. And so what term you need to know is selective attention. Selective attention is our ability to focus in on one thing and then kind of let the other stuff kind of go so that our brain can process what's most important. We just get bombarded with so many things that if we were processing all of them at once, it would just be overwhelming. And this is similar if you want to connect it to something else. If you think about someone who has ADHD, what they're going through is they're having an issue with, really what they're dealing with is they're having so many things that they're bombarded with, but they're not able to focus in on one thing, but their mind is actually focusing on everything at once. And so if you're functioning normally, what should happen is you should focus in on what you find important. Whereas with ADHD, what's happening is they're focusing in on everything. Everything is getting their mind's attention. And so then it's hard for them to focus on anything well, because they're processing everything, all of the sounds and all of the sights and everything that they're being bombarded with. They're not focusing in on one, but they're focusing on all. So with attention, we're going to move to the cocktail party effect. And the cocktail party effect is the idea that you can be having a conversation and you can be focused in on that conversation, but then you can actually change your attention to something else elsewhere. And they say you can do this very easily when you hear your name. So if you're chatting with someone, you can just focus in your attention somewhere else if your name is said. Or you could be having a conversation and you could be talking to someone and they could be talking to you, and maybe you're actually listening to the TV. And so they think that you're listening to them, but really you have changed your attention over to the television and you're not really listening. But the cocktail party effect is just that you can be having a conversation, but then your focus could be changed over somewhere else and you could be listening to a conversation somewhere else. Inattentional blindness is really interesting. I suggest you watching a video on YouTube. The basketball passing video is really good. They make all kinds. I put just a screenshot of an inattentional blindness video here where they ask you to watch the number of passes that are occurring with this group of people, and they might say watch and count the number of passes that the people in white or the people in black are making, and then you're focused in on the passes. And so because your attention is focused on that ball, you fail to notice that something else occurs. And so in this particular video clip, someone is walking through with an umbrella and most people don't notice that that happens. Or they might send somebody through in a gorilla suit, and most of the time you don't notice that that happens because you're so focused on the ball. And so that's inattentional blindness, that your selective attention has you focused on something that you're missing other things in the environment. Change blindness is where you have something that changes in your environment and you don't notice that it changed. And so I have an example here of an experiment that's done where they have a person asking a stranger for directions, and what happens is they change out the person who's asking for directions. So you can see in this still shot here, this man in the black hat is asking this lady for directions, and they've got this person who's holding this cardboard or this board here that they're going to pass in between the two people talking, and they're going to change out the guy with the hat with the man with the blue hat, and he's going to step in and talk to this lady, and you usually what happens is they don't notice that the change has occurred. And the reason why they don't notice that the change has occurred is because of attention. So her attention is focused in on the directions. And so she fails to notice that a change happens. She probably will not notice that it's a different person. She won't notice that he's wearing different clothes because her attention focused her on the directions, and it wasn't really important for her to notice all of those other details. So when it changes, she doesn't notice. And that's change blindness. Choice blindness is our inability to recognize our choice. I know that's not a great definition, but sometimes we don't even know that our own choice, that we have chosen something, we don't even really know what we've chosen. So I'll give you an example of the study here, and maybe it'll make it a little bit more clear. So this is a picture of the study. They've given this person 2 images, and they flash the images really quickly, and then they take them away. And the question is, which person is more attractive? And so the participant will point to which person they think is most attractive, and then they'll take it away really quickly. And then they'll hold up the image and they'll say, okay, now explain to me why this was your choice. But what they've done is they've switched the image on the person. And usually the person doesn't notice that the image that they're holding is different. And so they really don't even know what their choice was. And then they start talking about this image that wasn't the one they chose. And they say, oh, I chose this person because, and then they describe that image that really wasn't their choice. Or maybe they have, you could do this in a different way. Maybe you have this favorite recipe, and someone says they make that recipe, and you give it to the person, and they say, okay, now tell me why you really enjoy, they give them the food. Why do you really enjoy this? And they might say, I enjoy it because of, the flavors, and they're eating it, but they don't notice that you've given them a different recipe, but they'll still defend their choice even though they don't realize that that isn't really their favorite recipe. And so that is choice blindness. Okay, so that's what you need to know for attention. Basically, you're just bombarded with so many things in your environment that you have to focus in on what your mind thinks is most important. And so because you have decided that you're focusing in on this one sound or these few objects in your environment, everything else kind of goes to the wayside. And for that reason, some things that happen is we have inattentional blindness. The cocktail party effect can occur where we can zero in on different conversations and blur out the rest, or things like change blindness or inattentional blindness can occur. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.